Welcome to the jungle, everyone. I'm Kyle Phelps, and oops, oops. So it's been a rough week. Let's just put it that way. So we are live. This is a normal video, but I'm doing it in live format. And a couple of things went wrong this week. So because of the holiday and getting home, like I didn't get home till like Tuesday, and a bunch of stuff that went kind of wonky with a lot of stuff going on in my life this week. I did not have time to I recorded the playoff video for this week. Did not have time to actually edit the video this week. So that's what we're doing today. We're walking through the playoff scenarios. I put out a video last week, and that video did pretty well. I think last I checked it had like 600 views or something like that for a video that's only been up for a couple of days. So it actually did pretty well. Let me see where it's at right now. Well, that's not a thing. Oh, it's at 1,000 views now, surprisingly enough. So that video actually did pretty well. I don't know if this one's going to do as well because it's a live type of thing, but, we'll see. But I'm going to be going through the playoff scenarios that still happen. The main thing that I think needs to be considered is that 8 and 9 is no longer going to get the Bengals in the playoffs. That dream died. That was a big part of my video from last week. But that dream is dead now. It was pretty much dead the second the Bengals lost to the Steelers, and then the very next game was the Bills and Chargers, and the Chargers needed to win that game. They almost came back and beat the Bills, but they didn't. So pretty much as soon as that result didn't happen, then 8 and 9 was off the table because like all of those scenarios had to happen, and that first one did not. But that's okay. Like I said, win. You get in the playoffs if you win. You need to win, and it would have been kind of cheap as hell if you had not done it like that. So just you got to win something. Got a chance to win this week against the Chiefs, but can't go out and play like you did against the Steelers. The good news is that the Bengals under Jake Browning have played really well against all the teams on their schedule except for the Steelers. And I guess the Ravens, in a way, that one was a little different because, like, you kind of had the shock of losing Joe Burrow and then Jake Browning goes in there. So I don't really count the Ravens game. They were playing good before Jake Browning came in. I think they would be good if they played him again, but I don't know. But yeah, they've played really well against every team other than the Steelers with Jake Browning. So the good news is they don't have to play the Steelers again. I really want to beat the Steelers, man, but whatever. Mikey, I see you. What's going on? Says, hey, Kyle, do you want to be on my show as a guest? I would love to, Mikey. Just let me know whenever you want me to come on, and we'll have to work it out with my schedule, but I would absolutely love to come on your show, so, just let me know what you're thinking. But anyway, like I said, the reason we're doing this live format here is because I just didn't have time. Like, I recorded the video, and then I realized I didn't really have time to edit it. But I wanted to get the content out, so that's what we're doing today. I've got a little bit of a rig up here. I can show you. I've got my. We can go to this scene over here, and you can see that I've got this playoff scenario thing. This is the Upshot, which is my favorite website. I think I explained this in the last video, but it's my favorite playoff predictor website because it actually like calculates the odds, and you can kind of figure out scenarios with this thing. Whereas like the other thing that we can use, which is the ESPN playoff predictor, and then there's also playoffpredictors.com, which is also pretty good. But I like ESPN's playoff predictor better when it's actually out because it's a little more like it's a little more user friendly and everything like that. Playoffpredictors.com is awesome, but I mainly love it because you can come up with playoff scenarios throughout the entire year. And ESPN's machine doesn't release until like 5 weeks before the season ends, which fair enough. But so we're basically going to be using these two tools today, and I'm going to show you guys how the Bengals make the playoffs with their crazy ass schedule. Come back here real quick. Mikey says, I was thinking we'd do like a talk about the future of both of our teams, plus we get to talk about both of our teams. That'd be awesome, Mikey. I think we should do that in the off season. That'd be really cool. So like, once the playoffs and the Super Bowl is over and everything like that, I think at that point we should do something like that because that's kind of, I think, an off season topic. That's not something that I think I don't really want to talk too much about the Bengals' future right now. I want to talk about how can the Bengals. That's what I'm doing right here. I want to talk about how do the Bengals make the playoffs, and what can they do right now. We can talk about the future in the offseason. But I do want to do that with you though. Just hit me up and let me know, and we will figure that out. All right, so let's go back to this, and I've got a couple scenarios I want to go through. So, obviously, right now the Bengals have a 21% chance to make the playoffs. And, yeah, okay. I mean, I get it. I don't entirely agree with that. I think their odds are a little bit better for reasons that we're going to get into here in a minute. But I think I see where they're coming from because, picking the Bengals to win against the Chiefs or the Browns is maybe... Let's just say the Bengals aren't going to be favored in either of those games. Maybe actually the Browns game, which we'll get more into in a little bit. But I'll just say there's a good possibility the Browns will be resting their starters for that game. And then maybe the Bengals end up being favored. You never know. Although I'm not sure I want them to be because they tend to do much better when they're not favored. But yeah, so here's the thing. If you say that the Bengals are going to win both of those games, then suddenly, as you can see, that shoots it up to a 92% chance to make the playoffs. So the fact of the matter is, they don't fully control their own destiny anymore, but it's really close. It's 92% chance. If the Bengals win both of their remaining games, there is a scenario where they don't make the playoffs. There's probably more than one scenario where they don't make the playoffs, but either of them are pretty unlikely to actually happen. So if you win both. Now, are they going to win both? I don't know. But they can still make the playoffs at 9-8. But if they go 10-7, they win both their remaining games. We can see here pretty easily which games need to go against their way. So basically, it's actually pretty easily simple. The Steelers winning out doesn't really help because if the Steelers win out, then they are guaranteed to finish with a better record than the Bengals. Or not with a better record. I think it's the same record, but because of tiebreakers, because the Steelers swept the Bengals, which is disgusting. But if the Steelers swept the Bengals, so if they finish with the same record, the Steelers would finish ahead of them. However, there's still other teams the Bengals could finish ahead of. So the Bengals could still get that number 7 seed. And so basically at that point, if the Bills, I think the Bills are one of those teams. So if the Bills went out, then the Bengals cannot make the playoffs, even if they finish with. But then again, the Bills going up against the Dolphins in Week 18. Dolphins are a pretty good team. But we'll see. That'll be a tough one. But the Patriots are also surging too lately. So, I don't know. But you basically need two teams that they're competing with to both finish with a better record than the Bengals. And it doesn't have to be the Steelers and the Bills, I don't think. It can be other teams. So, let's say the Steelers went out. Let's take the Bills out of here because nobody cares about the Bills in this particular scenario. So, Steelers went out. And then, let's say the Texans. The Texans seem like another team that might potentially get in the Bengals' way. So, maybe not. Maybe not. At least not according to this. I do believe the Texans can take over the Bengals spot, but it would have to be via tiebreakers rather than head-to-head, right? Because even though the Texans beat the Bengals, but they still, because of weird-ass tiebreakers, it still needs to kind of happen that way. So... Let's see if the Jaguars beat the Panthers, which is almost certain to happen. And then let's come down here. Anything? Okay, here we go. And so if the Jaguars went out and the Bills went out, and is that right? Yeah, if the Jaguars went out and the Bills went out and the Texans went out, then the Bengals don't make the playoffs at 10-7, and that's unfortunate. Or if obviously if the Steelers went out, that's the thing. But it is what it is. But the likelihood that happens, obviously, if the Bengals went out, the likelihood that it happens that specific way that they still don't make the playoffs, as I said before, is like a 7, maybe 8% chance of happening, right? So I think you're feeling pretty good about that. Now, One thing I really love as a scenario here is if the Bengals beat the Chiefs. Let's go over to the playoff machine here so I can kind of show you what I'm talking about. If the Bengals beat the Chiefs, okay, and then either the Raiders beat the Colts or the Broncos beat the Chargers, or both happen, that would be interesting. Bengals, Raiders, Broncos, and then was there another scenario that needed to happen? No. Week 17, that's basically the only thing that needs to happen here. For the crazy scenario, which I'll go ahead and tell you, that the Bengals make the playoffs over the Chiefs. And the Chiefs lose their division. So the Bengals beat the Chiefs, the Broncos beat the Chargers, or the Raiders beat the Colts, or both, frankly, because that would make week 18 easier. So, week 18, if the Chargers beat the Chiefs, which is quite possible, you got that, we fired our head coach type of energy, and we're trying to spoil a rival team's playoff, whatever. Bengals don't even have to beat the Browns for this. Now, it really would really help for them to make the playoffs, but it doesn't need to happen. So if the Chiefs lose to the Chargers, then suddenly it doesn't matter what it hasn't changed for whatever reason. The ESPN playoff machine hasn't changed it. I don't quite understand why. But it doesn't matter if the Broncos beat the Raiders or if the Raiders beat the Chiefs, because in either case, the Chiefs lose the division if they lose both of their remaining games, and then either the Broncos or the Raiders went out, which is quite possible considering that the Broncos and Raiders play each other in Week 18. So that's something to think about. So potentially the Broncos could end up winning their division. Although I'll say that's probably not going to happen now that Russell Wilson's benched. But you never know. Maybe there's some Jarrett Stidham magic. That's a possibility. Now, the other thing is for the Bengals to actually make the playoffs with a 9-7 record. 9-8 record over the Chiefs. Obviously, this gets into some scenarios where you need some other things to happen. So, oddly enough, the Jaguars need to win out, which I think is just securing them winning their division and then preserving a tiebreaker to it, or something like that. And then the Colts in Week 18 need to beat the Texans because the Texans are in your way, right? And then the Steelers, I believe the Steelers need to lose out. So let's see. Let's have them lose against the Seahawks here. I don't know hold on. Yeah, Steelers need to lose out. So the Steelers need to lose out. Basically, if the Bengals are going to make the playoffs in 9-8 at all, regardless of this scenario, the Steelers need to lose out because, yeah, that's what happens when you get swept by the Steelers. But yeah, there's that is a fascinating scenario to me. The Bengals could make the playoffs over the Kansas City Chiefs. And the Chiefs could completely miss the playoffs if things play out like that. Now, granted, the Chiefs would deserve to miss the playoffs, frankly, if this happens. Because, they'd lose to the Bengals, who don't have their quarterback. They don't even have Joe Burrow. They'd be losing to them. And then the following week, they'd be losing to the Los Angeles Chargers, who have nothing left to play for except just spite. So if this were to happen, I think the Chiefs would deservedly lose the playoff spot. Now, I will say it is possible for the Chiefs to still make the playoffs if this happens. They could get that 7th seed. Bengals lose to the Browns, and then I actually don't entirely know what the scenario is. But I did find it at one point. Maybe it's the Texans beat no. I don't know. It was there. I promise you it was there. Maybe it was this one. Maybe it was the Jaguars. Actually, hey, there's another scenario where the Bengals make it over the Chiefs and not everything happened the way I said it should happen. So the Texans actually beat the Colts in this scenario. And hey, we're learning together. Look at this. So if the Jaguars lose to the Titans, which I also said was the Jaguars had to win out, I guess they don't have to win out according to this scenario. If the Bills beat the Dolphins and then still lose their division, which would be hilarious, the Bengals would lose the seeding battle to the Bills, but they would beat the Chiefs for the seeding battle. So that's That's something else. I wonder if the Raiders... It doesn't really matter who wins this Broncos-Raiders game at this point. This game is completely... It does actually matter, because if they tie, then the Chiefs win their division. So that would be the worst outcome. That would be the worst possible outcome. That would be pathetic and terrible, and I hate it. Yeah, Steelers. I promise you guys, there was a scenario where the Chiefs beat... if the Chiefs still make the playoffs, even if they lose out. But... And then lose the division, of course. I cannot find that one right now. So if you know it, let me know in the comments. And I'll put you up on the screen. Or later on, I'll feature you or something. Speaking of comments, let's get back to some of these. Yes, me too, Mikey. So I have my own version of the Battle of Ohio podcast with my dad called the Hurricane and the Real podcast. Now, there you go, Mikey. There you go, Mikey. Are you both Saints fans? Because... it's kind of like the Battle of Ohio podcast, except you're both Saints fans. Unless like your dad's like, I don't know, what would be the closest? What would be the closest equivalent to that? Like if your dad was a Falcons fan, I think that would be interesting. But even then, it's not quite like that, because like, well, I don't know, because like the Falcons are the Saints' biggest rivals, right? Or maybe more recently, it's like the Buccaneers. I don't know. But I would think the Falcons would be like the Saints' biggest rivals, right? Wouldn't that be the case? I would think that would be the case. Like historically and maybe even currently, the Falcons would be the Saints' biggest rivals. So that would be more like, the Bengals and the Steelers. Not that the Steelers reciprocate that, but Bengals fans on the whole definitely hate the Steelers more than they hate anybody else. Now, Steelers fans are, twats and like, you guys are rivals, and yeah, well, y'all get really excited when you beat the Bengals, so you tell me who's a rival. So I don't know, but yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. You have the Bengals winning this week. It's quite possible, Mikey. See, the thing is, Patrick Mahomes has not been doing well lately. Cam Taylor-Britt has been activated from IR, so that's going to be our best safety and one of our biggest X factors on defense. Obviously, Trey Hendrickson being the biggest X factor, but one of our biggest X factors and best turnover creators in Cam Taylor-Britt is coming back for this game. Now, Jamar Chase, we don't know if he's going to play, but I honestly think it's a bigger deal to have the defense. I would rather have Cam Taylor-Britt than Jamar Chase in this game. And it's not because I don't think Jamar Chase is better than Cam Taylor-Britt. Obviously, he's insane. But I think the offense can function without Jamar Chase. The defense, though, needs every single bit of help they can get. And we got to play good defense to beat the Chiefs regardless. If we come out there and we play crap defense, Patrick Mahomes is going to carve us up, and Jake Browning's not going to be able to keep up. That's just the fact of the matter. But if we can come out here and we can play great defense and just confuse Patrick Mahomes and make him look like he has the past few weeks, then I think we have a really good chance. And I think Cam Taylor-Britt coming back is a big part of what makes that happen. So Cam Taylor-Britt coming back, I think, means they can win. But, obviously we'll see. I think it depends on the defense. I'll personally get your watch time per hours up. Well, thank you, Mikey. I don't know exactly where I'm at right now. Let me go ahead and see if I can bring that up. My watch hours haven't really increased a whole lot lately. I think they went a little down, then they went a little back up, which is nice. But the watch hours definitely don't I don't see an increase in watch hours at the same frequency that we see an increase in the subscribers, right? So let me kind of show you what I'm looking at. This will be a little bit of a behind the scenes look. I'm like, for the people who watch this later as a regular video, I kind of apologize because this isn't going to look like something that you probably care about. But we're about done with these scenarios, I think. I kind of explained how they all work. So let's get into some behind the scenes stuff here, I suppose. Go ahead and bring this up. So you see I got 471 subscribers right now, which is nice. I think we had 472, and I think we might have lost one. I don't know what happened there, but, figure it out. Doing pretty good on views, and the watch time has gone up, but also not really enough, right? So let me show you what I'm talking about. This is the channel. This is the thing that shows monetization, right? We're really close in terms of subscribers, and I'm putting up enough content lately. But the problem is I'm only about halfway where I need to be as far as public watch hours. Now that number has gone up because I want to say it was around somewhere around like 10 to 1200 before, which, you know, it's gone up since then. We're about halfway there, which is nice, but it's honestly like if you guys sit there and just like watch all my videos and stuff like that, great, awesome, I love you. But it's really up to me to just put more content out, which is I've been trying to put a bit more of a push into it. Obviously, this past week wasn't great for me because like I had a lot of. I'm going to avoid getting too personal on this channel, but I had a lot of stuff I had to deal with on my back end that just. And I still do right now, by the way. The fact that I'm here tonight is kind of remarkable. But I got a lot of stuff that I got to pay attention to right now. But I am trying to put more content out because we're so close to that mark. And like I said, if I start making money off of this channel, then I can devote more time to it. And ultimately, that's what I really want to do. I really want to devote more time to this channel, come up with cool stuff, come up with various things, and I want to put cool content out. So like, you know, you guys subscribing and you guys watching my videos and like, you know, that stuff getting rolling. That's how we do it here. And, you know, like I said, I want to put more content out. It's hard to do it when you're a student and you have to work full time and you have to work basically a second job to, you know, pay everything. But, you know, if this channel could at least become to some extent a second job, then I can put a lot more effort into it, you know? And I put about as much into it as I can right now. Falcons are the Saints' biggest rival. That's what I would think. That's what I would think. I would think the Buccaneers would be the biggest threat over the last however many years, right? I mean, outside of that one little run that the Falcons had, for the most part, it's kind of been the Saints and the Buccaneers going back. I mean, at least since I was a kid, you know? Like, I mean, the 90s, I don't really remember what was going on in the NFC South in the 90s because I was very focused on... I was a little kid, so I was just focused on the Bengals, and I didn't really have much of an idea about what was going on in the rest of the NFL at the time. But, like, I know 2002, that's when the Buccaneers really kind of, like, burst onto the scene, and they were, like, kind of up and down after that. I mean, like, they were in the NFC Championship game against the Eagles at one point, I think. And then the Buccaneers fell off, but then they came back up, and then, like, you know, and then like the Buccaneers fell off, but then the Saints got really good, and then, you know, obviously the Buccaneers made a comeback with Tom Brady, and right now it seems like it's kind of like the Buccaneers and the Saints division to fight for, even though it's not a good division. And then, like, the Falcons are there, but, like, I don't know if anybody really believes in the Falcons. And then the Panthers exist. The Panthers went to the Super Bowl. You know, the Falcons didn't go to the Super Bowl. Wait. Oh, yeah, they did. 28-3. Okay. Yeah, damn. The whole NFC South has recently been to the Super Bowl. That's crazy when you think about it. Like, obviously, the Saints, it's been the longest amount of time for the Saints because the Saints haven't been since Drew Brees. But even then, you know, the Saints have been more recent, been to the Super Bowl more recent than quite a few teams. Like, as bad as the NFC South is right now, like, all of those teams have been to the Super Bowl relatively recently. Like, you know, within the last, like, 15 years, all four of them have been, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. You went to Panda King earlier? What's Panda King? I'm thinking of Panda Express. It's not Panda Express, is it? I've never heard of Panda King. Started watching on my first stream. My first stream? Like, my very first stream? That was like the Bengals Jets game from 2021, I think, if I recall correctly. I think that was my first stream. Probably a pretty easy way to figure that out, right? probably a pretty easy way to figure that out. Let me check. My very first stream. Wow, we're going back ways. Here we go. Yep, my first stream was the Bengals versus Jets, where Joe Burrow threw all those interceptions. That was terrible. That was absolutely terrible. And then my second stream was Browns Patriots. Like, why? Like early career Mac Jones versus Baker Mayfield. No, man, going back through a lot of these, like, old school, not old school, like 3 years ago, but like a lot of these old streams, and especially looking at like some of these graphics I had back then, man, Jesus. But it's like, it's the best I knew how to do at the time, too. Me and the Houdat Center won't be live, but I might go live on my second channel streaming the Saints game. You should, Mikey. You should. You totally should. You should do it as much as you can, or really as much as you want. You know, like, don't overdo it if you don't want to overdo it or whatever. But, yeah, go get it done, man. Ben Riley. I don't remember seeing you in the chat before. Welcome. If you're not subscribed, feel free to subscribe. If you are, welcome back and welcome to the chat. Or if I just don't remember you, then I'm sorry. But, hi, Ben Riley. Do we commit to stopping tight ends this week? No. No, we don't. No, we don't. Because the Bengals are not capable of stopping tight ends. It's not possible. I don't think we have the personnel for it. I don't know why. The scheme does not work with tight ends. We're going up against Travis Kelce and Noah Gray. So, like, are we going to stop them? No, we're not going to stop them. Can we limit Patrick Mahomes to a not so great game? I think maybe we can do that. But we might have to live with, like, Travis Kelce having, like, 80, 90 yards, maybe over 100 in the game, depending on how we do it. But no, I don't think we... Oh, do we overcommit to stopping tight ends this week? I don't think so. Because that doesn't really seem like Lou Anarumo's, like, MO to overcommit to anything. Like, if anything... My biggest worry with Lou Anarumo has always been I feel like he doesn't commit enough to, like, certain strategies, like, well, sort of. I feel like he very much has the way he does things, and it's always going to be kind of like that way. Like he might manipulate his game plan, and he's really good at making second half adjustments, but not always, obviously, especially this year. It's been kind of up and down. But I feel like Lou Anarumo has, like, one thing, and that one thing has worked really well over his career, and I think teams are starting to figure it out. And so, frankly, if he gets a head coaching job this offseason, then I don't think I'm going to cry too hard, Like, thanks for your service, buddy, but I think it's time for some fresh ideas in here. Then again... I think Lou has really good chemistry with Zach, and so maybe just with a better start to the season, maybe it doesn't end up like this. I don't know. Hard to say. But do we overcommit to stopping tight ends? I don't think so. And I don't think we stop tight ends at all. I have been screaming at them to do something to a tight end this year, and it's nope, nothing. So I don't know. Didn't you say before the season the Panthers were going to win the NFC South? No, I don't think I said the Panthers were going to win the NFC South. Where'd you get that idea from? I think I said the Buccaneers because, I almost definitely said the Buccaneers because Baker Mayfield, I didn't say the Panthers. Panthers? What? They got a rookie quarterback. I didn't know anything about that rookie quarterback. I thought the Panthers were going to be better because I liked Frank Reich, but obviously that didn't work out. I think Frank Reich was set up to fail, honestly, in Carolina. I still think Frank Reich's a good coach, but I don't know if he's going to get another opportunity for a while. But yeah, no, I don't think I ever said the Panthers were going to win the NFC South. I think I said the Buccaneers at the beginning of the year were going to win the NFC South. Panda King is a Chinese restaurant. It must be a local restaurant because I've never heard of Panda King. Actually, let me look it up. Because maybe I'm stupid. Well, there's actually a place called Panda King in, I think, the Liberty Center. No, actually in Hamilton. Like right, down the road from me. Panda King. It's a Chinese restaurant. Melissa J. from Sarasota, Florida says, great food, always hot and fresh. The owner's employees are super friendly. Our favorites are egg drop soup. Ooh. General So's, Mugu Gai Pan. Oh my god. Pot stickers, abs, crab rangoon. Okay, so Melissa really likes Panda King. At least the Panda King in Hamilton, Ohio. Although I will say, for what it's worth, the restaurant has 2.5 stars out of 5, so they're not that great. But Melissa really liked him. And Gloria Z didn't like him so much. Rodney E really didn't like him. But yeah, I mean, this is a playoff stream, so we don't need to talk too much about Panda King in Hamilton, Ohio. But Mikey really likes Panda King. I sprayed myself in the eye with the goddamn spray. What spray? Like the spray from Panda King? Are you more on stopping the run versus stopping the pass? Versus the Chiefs? It's hard to say. So, like, my strategy against the Ravens has always been, like, you stop the pass, and, like, you accept the fact that they're going to run, and you just get really ready to defend the pass. Because Lamar Jackson has a great arm, but he's also really kind of turnover prone when he's throwing the ball. So, like, you can get sliced up by Lamar Jackson if you're not careful, but you're definitely going to get, like, killed on the run. So, you just kind of, like, try to contain the run, but you really focus on stopping the pass against the Ravens. And I think Lou Anarumo, in general, did that really well early on in his career with the Bengals. I wish he would have kept doing that. But as far as versus the Chiefs, though, I don't know, because, like, I feel like the Chiefs just kind of have, like, a cobbled together running game, and at the end of the day, Patrick Mahomes is the really dangerous thing there. So I think maybe with them, it's also, like, you focus on shutting down the pass. See, I don't know, like, it's more difficult with the Chiefs, because you don't have as much of a glaring hole with the Chiefs as you do with the Ravens. Like obviously the Ravens are really good, especially this year. The Ravens are really good, and they could kind of do anything against you. But they also have a big glaring thing that you can attack with the Ravens, and I don't feel like you have that with the Chiefs. I feel like a lot of things just haven't been working. I don't think Matt Nagy knows how to, like, build an offense around Patrick Mahomes, because he's so used to having dudes like I mean, he made his name building an offense for Alex Smith, not Patrick Mahomes. And that's why I don't think he worked out well with Mitch Trubisky, because Mitch Trubisky, his style of quarterback play is more like the Patrick Mahomes than the Alex Smith. But I think Matt Nagy wanted him to play more like Alex Smith. So now that Matt Nagy is back in Kansas City, he's trying to bring that old school type of offense with him, and it just doesn't work with Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback. So, I mean, that's my biggest analysis for what weakness to exploit with the Chiefs is just exploit the fact that, like, Matt Nagy doesn't really seem to know how to use Patrick Mahomes very well. As far as the run versus the pass goes, I mean, I don't know. I honestly don't know if that's even the right question. I think it's more so like, I think you focus more on trying to play like a standard game plan against this Chiefs offense. Like, don't try to blitz too much, because once you start putting Patrick Mahomes off script, that's when he really just kind of, like, throws away the game plan and starts making crazy ass plays on his own. But if you can make him work within the framework, which isn't really suited to him in the first place, I feel like that's the way to get Patrick Mahomes to make mistakes and also possibly just not be accurate enough to really keep up. And like I said, you got Cam Taylor-Britt coming back, so I mean, I don't know. I guess the more I talk about it, I guess you focus more on stopping the run when it comes to the Chiefs, because you want more of like a traditional standard game plan against this version of the Chiefs. I hope they don't do the thing where they just, like, let you come up with explosive plays and then grind you down over time, because it hasn't been working this year, and it's not going to work against the Chiefs. But I think the main thing is, like, don't try to force Patrick Mahomes to go off script, because that's when he's really in his element. So try to just let the script play out with the Chiefs, because I don't think the script is written very well for the Chiefs. So, I mean, that would be my perspective, but I'm, not a coach. I haven't even played football since I was like 13 years old, so I mean, take my opinion with a grain of salt, but that's the way that I would handle it. Yeah. I got some people watching my streams. I never thought that would happen. Yeah, dude, Mikey, if you just put yourself out there, you give people a reason to come back, people a reason to watch and stuff like that, got some good connections. I try to send my people over to you. I don't know if anybody actually does, but I mean, yeah, you just keep putting yourself out there, and if people like you, they'll keep coming back, The spray from your mom. Fair enough. Like I said, I don't give my wife any ideas. If we miss the playoffs again, DA and Pete better get fired on the spot. I don't know about on the spot. I do think that Dennis Allen's probably getting fired at the end of this year. I think probably Dennis Allen done after this year. Pete Carmichael, I don't even know if they need to fire him, because like he's the offensive coordinator, right? So like I mean they might kind of like technically fire him or something like that, but like I think the Saints are going to fire. I think the Saints are going to fire Dennis Allen, and whoever the next head coach is going to come in. He's going to want his own staff. So I just think Pete Carmichael's. I don't think he's going to necessarily be retained, but I don't necessarily think he's going to be fired either. But yeah, that's what I think about Dennis Allen. As far as the Bengals' playoff hopes go, out of the two, let me actually go ahead and bring this back up. Out of the two games, oddly enough, the Chiefs game is actually more important to win. So that's kind of funny. Let me bring this back up. There's panicking there. So if you notice here, out of these two games, the Chiefs game is actually the more important game for the Bengals to win. 53 versus 35%. So it is actually quite possible, guys, and realistic, theoretically. Maybe not super realistic, but with a 53% chance to make the playoffs if you beat the Chiefs. 52% according to this simulation, but it said 53 earlier, so can we get it to 53 here? Maybe not. Maybe 53. There we go, 53%. So it only took 100,000 more simulations, but we got there. But 53% chance to make the playoffs if they beat the Chiefs, which means they can lose to the Browns, and I mean those playoff odds go down to 22%, but it's still a non-zero chance to make the playoffs. Now, lose to the Chiefs, beat the Browns, and that goes down to like 15-16%, which isn't that much different than 22%, because you can still have some scenarios go your way. But really, the more important one is to beat the Chiefs, which is crazy because theoretically, and now it's 50%. See, this is where the variance comes in. But the crazy thing is the Bengals could actually end up, right now, there is a realistic scenario that could happen where the Bengals go 0-6 in the AFC North. 0-6 in the AFC North. And frankly, they could be in the playoffs, despite not winning a single game their entire division. And that's because they would end up being 9-2 against the rest of the NFL on their schedule. That is how wild that this finish could be, guys. But what's actually kind of crazy? If the Bengals beat the Chiefs this upcoming week, then they only really need like one or two results, right? They only really need like one or two results to potentially clinch the playoffs with a win the following week. So let's say, and now this one's a little bit out of left field, but the Patriots have been surging lately. So let's say the Patriots beat the Bills, right? And the Bengals have a 99% chance to make the playoffs at that point. I mean, it's basically a done deal. If they beat the Chiefs and then the Patriots beat the Bills, then a win against the Browns would basically be a done deal. It's not. There's very little chance anything else is going to happen. But if you throw in the Panthers beating the Jaguars, which is also pretty unlikely to happen, but let's say next week, we come out of next week, and the Bengals took down the Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead Stadium. And then the New England Patriots take down the Buffalo Bills early in the day. So actually, we would know by the Chiefs game. So I mean, if before the game happens, the Patriots beat the Bills, and then the Panthers beat the Jaguars, just those two upsets, doesn't matter what happens in the rest of the NFL, then the Bengals could get in position to control their own destiny in the final week of the year by beating the Chiefs. And if they do that, then, like I said, all they got to do is beat the Browns. And it doesn't really matter what happens with the rest of the NFL. Because, I mean, the Steelers could win out. The Steelers could win out, and they would end up being ahead of the Bengals for a playoff spot. But the Bengals would still be in position for a playoff spot, and they would be locked into it, you know? I mean, I looked into it, by the way. There is no scenario where the Bengals clinch next week. I mean, you should probably expect that, right? There's no guarantee that the Bengals are going to make the playoffs at 10-7. Like, I mean, it's pretty good bet, but there's no guarantee they're going to make the playoffs at 10-7. So, but I mean, you can get up to, let's say, probably about. This is about the best you're going to do. So you can get up to about a 51% chance. So at the end of the day, if the Patriots beat the Bills, the Colts beat the Raiders, the Panthers beat the Jaguars, the Texans lose to the Titans, the Steelers beat the Seahawks. No way. Okay, no, yeah, it's much better if the Steelers lose. Okay, much better actually. Okay, so if the Patriots beat the Bills, the Colts beat the Raiders, the Panthers beat the Jaguars, Titans beat the Texans, Seahawks beat the Steelers, Chargers beat the Broncos, and then the Bengals beat the Chiefs, if all of those things happen, then the Bengals are basically shoo-ins for the next week, right? Because, I mean, obviously things could go against them, but they got an 89% chance to make the playoffs, and that's about as close as you're going to get without an actual concrete guarantee. So let's just say the Bengals lose to the Browns after beating the Chiefs, and everything goes their way in Week 17, which, by the way, is very similar to what could have happened last week had the Bengals actually beaten the Steelers, because everything else went pretty much their way as far as the AFC was considered last week. So, I mean, it could happen again this week. Just beat the Chiefs. But, yeah, if the Bengals... If the Bengals lose to the Browns, then they do need a little bit of help, even if they beat the Chiefs. So, I mean, let's say, the Steelers lose to the Ravens, and then the Bengals would finish ahead of the Steelers. But they still need a little bit more help from one of these other three teams. So, it could be the Bills, Texans, or Titans. Oh, it's probably because of the Jaguars and the tiebreakers and everything. So, it could let's just, put it down to this. So, I mean, really, if the Jaguars win the division... and the Steelers don't lose. This is really all it takes, guys. So I mean, it takes a perfect Week 17. But if that happens, then in Week 18, the Bengals really all they really need is they need the Jaguars to win their division, which they should, and then they need the Steelers to not beat the Ravens, which again they should. I mean, the Ravens will be fighting for that number 1 seed. So there's a pretty good chance that the Ravens are going to be, not going to be resting starters or anything. However, speaking of resting starters, so it is actually crucial that we got the results that we did recently. So the Ravens are basically 1 win away from winning the AFC North, I think. Or did they already win the AFC North? I can actually probably find it out like this. I can't remember if the Ravens... I don't think the Ravens clinched a playoff spot, but they did not clinch the AFC North yet, I don't believe. So, if the Ravens beat... Who are they playing? Ravens beat the Dolphins. Obviously, it doesn't affect the Bengals' playoff chances that much, because it's not really seeing what I'm seeing here. But the Ravens beat the Dolphins. It doesn't really matter what happens in the rest of the NFL. It doesn't matter what the Browns do, actually. If the Ravens beat the Dolphins, then they clinch the AFC North title this year, which is good for the Bengals because it means that in Week 18, the Browns would be locked into the number 5 seed. No matter anything they do, they cannot lose any. They would be locked into it because of everything. Well, the Browns might actually need it. No, I actually think the Browns are locked in right now. Now that I think about it, I don't think the Browns can move down. If they can, the Bengals would need the Browns to win. I know, because they beat the Jets. That's what it was. Their Week 17 games already happened. So the Browns beating the Jets was huge for the Bengals, because if the Ravens beat the Dolphins, then that means the Ravens are locked in as the AFC North champion this year, and the Browns, therefore, cannot go make it, and the Browns will be locked into the number 5 seed, so nothing they do in Week 18 will matter at all. It will essentially be an exhibition game for them. Therefore, I could see them sitting old man Joe Flacco for the game, and also quite a few other starters, because they got so many injuries they can't really afford anymore. So I could see the Browns benching their starters against the Bengals, which therefore would make it... I mean, I've seen the Bengals lose or almost lose to the Browns, despite the fact that the Browns were playing all their backups. But, it would make it theoretically a lot easier for the Bengals to win their game against the Browns if the Browns are resting their starters. So, all that happens, Bengals beat the Browns, playoffs clinched, right? Or, let's say the Bengals lose to the Chiefs, right? Not great, obviously, alone in a vacuum, the Bengals would have a 35% chance to make the playoffs or something like that. But if some playoff scenarios go their way, let's actually see. So, I think the biggest one is if the Steelers lose, any of their remaining games. So, let's say the Seahawks beat the Steelers. So, suddenly, the Bengals are, let's see, here we go, Chiefs. So, the odds are not exactly super in their favor at this point, but it's not really totally, completely outside of the realm of possibility. So, if the Steelers lose out, I think that's the main thing. Because the Steelers could, if the Steelers and Bengals finish with the same record, Steelers finish ahead of them. But if the Steelers lose out, Bengals got a 31% chance. And then they just need, let's see, what are some really likely scenarios? Chargers beating the Broncos. Well, with Jarrett Stidham, that's quite possible. So Chargers beat the Broncos. Suddenly the Bengals have a 52% chance if they beat the Browns but not the Chiefs. They got a 52% chance to beat to make the playoffs if the Steelers lose out and the Chargers beat the Broncos. And then, let's say, I don't know. What do you think? Broncos beat the Raiders? That'd be kind of I don't know if that's super realistic if they lose to the Chargers, because then they don't have anything left to play for, right? So we'll leave that one alone for now. But maybe the Titans beating the Jaguars, because Trevor Lawrence... Oh, no. Yeah, actually. Just because Trevor Lawrence having all those injury problems right now, it's quite possible Jaguars could lose. And they've been sputtering a lot lately. So, I could maybe see the Jaguars losing out. Next up, Colts beating the Raiders. Yeah, I can see that happening. Colts beat the Raiders, of course. Duh. Colts beat the Raiders. Suddenly we're at an 86% chance to make the playoffs. And then Jaguars beat the Panthers. They're probably going to beat the Panthers. Look at this. Jaguars beat the Panthers. Ooh, nope. Okay, it's actually not clinched. Never mind. Wow, look at me looking like a fool after setting y'all up for that. Okay, so what would be next then? So that's a clinch, and that's also a clinch. Okay, so this is stupid, y'all. I'm very confused. Okay, so before I think I might have just found a glitch in the upshot system. So, before I determine whether the Texans or the Colts win their Week 18 game, it says that the Bengals could potentially lose the playoffs. But if I pick either of these two teams, oh, you know what? I wonder if it's a tie. I wonder if a tie hurts them. But then again, I don't really see any other scenarios that go against that. How about the Titans beating the Texans? That's possible. There you go. Yep, Bengals 100%. But here it's just Texans beating the Colts, and then it's just if either team, doesn't really matter, if either team wins, then the Bengals make the playoffs at 9-8, having beaten the Browns but not the Chiefs. So the fact that the Browns may be resting their starters could be huge, because this is not a completely out of the pocket scenario. Colts beat the Raiders? Yeah, the Colts can beat the Raiders. The Jaguars beat the Panthers? Jaguars are almost definitely going to beat the Panthers. The Seahawks beat the Steelers. I could see that. I think it's Drew Lock playing, but it's the Steelers, guys. I mean, like, the only team they're any good against is the Bengals, frankly, which sucks, but it's true. Chargers beating the Broncos. That one's a little, But then again, with Jarrett Stidham, it's quite within the realm of possibility. And then the following week, the Titans beating the Jaguars. That one might be the most unrealistic one. That one's like the most like, well, you never know. Maybe the Titans beat the Jaguars. But at the same time, like without Trevor Lawrence and the fact that Will Levis is pretty damn good, I can see the Titans beating the Jaguars. Especially if they smell blood. If they smell blood, I could totally see him doing it. Colts beating the Texans. I mean, frankly, it could be the Colts and the Texans fighting for playoff positioning, even though the Colts... the Colts beat the Raiders, so they got every chance to make the playoffs here. But again, also, we know if the Texans... So that one actually doesn't matter at all. So I know it says 100%. I'm just going to leave it off just for clarity's sake. It doesn't really matter. I don't know why it's doing that. It's really confusing. I wonder, is there a scenario where all of that happens? Because I don't see it. Yeah, I'm putting together these results and I'm not seeing anything else highlight. So we're going to go ahead and take those off. So yeah, all those. So, Colts beat the Raiders. Quite possible. Jaguars beat the Panthers. Very likely. Seahawks beat the Steelers. Quite possible. Chargers beat the Broncos. Quite possible. Titans beat the Jaguars. That one's a little more like, yeah. But, I mean, you never know. You never know. And then Ravens beating the Steelers. Yeah. They'll be fighting for the number 1 seed for sure. For sure, though. I think the Ravens will beat the Steelers, like, easily. So yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a long shot to get to the playoffs at 9-8, but I think this is the path of least resistance. That's not true. If the Bengals beat the Browns but not the Chiefs, then this is the path of least resistance. And actually, frankly, because the Browns are likely going to be resting their starters, this might be the path of least resistance anyway. This is, you don't go and beat the Chiefs, but you beat the team that's going to be playing backups. That's probably the path of least resistance, and then you have, like, the path of least resistance as far as these results go. Now, obviously, if you beat the Chiefs, there's that you could maybe consider that a path of least resistance. So, Bengals beat the Chiefs, and then what other results do you need? Even if the Browns beat the Bengals, what results do you need here? Let's say the Patriots beat the Bills, Seahawks beat the Steelers, Ravens beat the Steelers. So in both these scenarios, Steelers got to lose out, right? Chargers beat the Broncos, which, we said in the last one. We got to have the Panthers beat the Jaguars, though. That one's... I don't know about that one. Colts beating the Raiders. And then and the Titans beating the Texans. And then you're still not really, like... You still got to have some results go your way in Week 18. So, Jaguars, Colts, Dolphins, any of those teams win. Which, that's actually quite possible. Jaguars beating the Titans, yeah, they could do that. Now you only have to have the Jaguars beat the Titans, so maybe this is I don't know. But you see all these results you need here. This is definitely not the path of least resistance. As crazy as it sounds, and it looks like the odds are higher if you beat the Chiefs and beat the Browns, but frankly, you need less total results if you beat the Browns but not the Chiefs. So, I don't know. This website's a little weird. I'm not entirely sure I completely agree with it. Ben Riley... Oh, hold on. Let me bring up the thing. Ben Riley says, zone underneath double Kelsey. Let Cam Taylor-Britt do his thing. I don't know about that. I don't know about zone underneath because, like, you really don't want to let big plays happen. Double Kelsey? No. Because, like... They're going to do their thing with tight ends. And, like, I don't... Like, who are you going to get to double them? Like, the linebackers can't cover anybody to save their damn lives. I mean, Mike Hilton's good, but, like, he can easily be overpowered size-wise. So, I mean, I don't know. I think you just, like, try to minimize damage from Kelsey, but, like, don't try to overcommit to him. And let Cam do his thing? Definitely let Cam do his thing. The nice thing is the Chiefs don't really have... any particularly amazing receivers. So, like, I think Cam can be pretty solid knowing that Cam's going to do his thing. And then you can have DJ Turner out there. Doesn't have to be the starting cornerback. He can be, he can be the, the other side of things. And then there's, Cheeto Awuzie. We'll see. I don't know. He was awful against the Steelers guys. And I think after that performance, I don't know if Cheeto's going to be back next year. Because obviously you're going to need some of those defensive contracts to fall off. And I think Cheeto might be one of those ones. DJ Reader, unfortunately, is probably going to be another one just because he's injured a lot. And I don't think they want to pay for a guy who's injured a lot. But, yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, zone underneath, maybe I worry if you're doing that, then you're letting up a bunch of big plays. Pete doesn't know the difference between 5 yards and 20 yards. I'm not sure what you're referencing there, but probably pretty funny. We need to beat Tampa and Atlanta to make the playoffs. Well, because it could happen. It could happen. But I honestly, I stand by what I said at the beginning of the year, Mikey. I think Tampa's going to win the NFC South. I think Baker's on a roll right now, and I think he's going to stay on a roll. So, we'll see about that. But Aaron M says that's cool. I'm not sure what's cool, but I'm glad you thought something was cool, Aaron. All right, let's go. The Eagles, Cowboys, Lions, Browns, Ravens, 49ers, Dolphins all have clinched a playoff spot. Yeah, all those teams have clinched playoff spots. I was wondering earlier if the Ravens had clinched the AFC North, but I don't think they have yet. I think they still need to either win or the Browns need to lose. Which the Browns only have one more game left to play the whole year, and that's against the Bengals. So they'll have a nice rest week. But, again, they might take some extra resting time because, they might be locked into that 5 seed, which, not that I want to root for the Ravens winning the division, but if it potentially helps the Bengals make the playoffs in, the most unlikely of fashion. Y'all remember I said after we lost to the Steelers the first time, I was like, season's over. There's nothing left. Yes, they could still make the playoffs. It's still on the table. But, there's no way that's going to happen after what I just witnessed. There's no way they're going to come out and play great against all these other teams. And what did they do? They came out and played great against all these other teams. And not the Steelers, but again, they played badly against the Steelers, and they played badly against the Steelers again. So yeah, not so much there. I don't know what's up with Mason Rudolph. Bro, fuck Mason Rudolph. At least I hit the go live button. That's true, Mikey. That's true. I was legitimately streaming for 15 minutes. I was like, I'm going to knock this out before I have to go to work and then, have something going up because I wanted to make a whole video and I recorded a whole video, but I didn't have time to edit it and get it up in time for anybody to really watch it for very long or anything like that. So I figured I'd try a live stream. Seems like it's worked out pretty well. We've had, I think, 4 different people chatting so far? 3? Yeah. Mikey, Ben, and Aaron made a comment. So, how was Connecticut? Dude, Connecticut was awesome. I can't really show the pictures on the thing right now because they're all on my phone. See if I can, might be able. I don't know. Probably not. But my cousin, my cousin-in-law Luigi, always makes these really he's Italian and he goes all out with the feasts for every time we come to his house. Every time they have a big holiday family gathering, it's big feasts and he's Italian, he's a food guy. So I don't know if you can maybe see that picture a little bit. It's really blurry. You can't really see exactly what I'm seeing, but that's lobster. He just got a bunch of lobster tails and just cooked them up for everybody. And then in the back there's these they're prawns and they're stuffed in basically crab cake mixture, and it was incredible. He had a whole charcuterie thing and everything. There was prosciutto, there was salami, there was all sorts of stuff, man. He made standing rib roast. I mean, dude, and you know what? I took my wife out to the Rockefeller Center in New York and saw the giant Christmas tree that they put out down there. So I'm telling, I'm 31 years old. That might have been my best Christmas ever. Crazily enough, I have the Yuccaneers winning. I do too. I've had them winning all year because I believe in Baker Mayfield. What would you do without Mikey? Well, I probably wouldn't have even noticed this morning. I probably wouldn't have even noticed that I didn't go live. So you probably wouldn't have gotten a live stream from me tonight because I wouldn't have realized that I didn't actually go live, you know? That probably would have happened a couple of times. There'd probably been a couple of games that I wouldn't have gotten any content out because I didn't realize I didn't click the go live button. So, yeah, Mikey, you've saved my ass on a number of occasions, I'm not going to lie. Thought it was cool that if the Bengals win against the Chiefs, which they could potentially be in the playoffs. Yeah, if the Bengals beat the Chiefs, not only could the Bengals potentially make the playoffs, but the Chiefs could potentially miss the playoffs. I mean, it would still depend on what happens in Week 18, because, I mean, neither team is totally in or totally out, depending on the Week 17 matchups. But if the Bengals beat the Chiefs, and then the Chiefs lose to the Chargers, then the Chiefs could miss the playoffs entirely. And the Bengals could make the playoffs at the Chiefs' expense because they would have the same record and the Bengals would end up having the tiebreaker over them. So, you know, we've talked about how we want the Jaguars to win the AFC South. Or no, we've talked about how we want the Texans to win the AFC South because the Bengals would have a tiebreaker over the Colts and would have the tiebreaker over the Jaguars because they beat both of those teams. It's kind of the same concept in the AFC West. The Bengals didn't play the Raiders or the Broncos, but it would be really advantageous for one of those two teams to win the AFC West because the Bengals do have a head-to-head matchup with the Chiefs and could potentially take them out. So, I mean, that would be wild. You know what would also be wild, guys? I've been thinking about this, but I don't like doing this. Let me bring this back up. I don't like doing this. It fills me with dread to do this. But let's put the Steelers in the playoffs. Okay? And then we're going to put the Bengals in the playoffs as well. Obviously, it requires a little bit more work to get there. But let's put the Steelers in the playoffs and the Bengals in the playoffs. And if that happens, if the Steelers and the Bengals both make the playoffs, then hopefully we can see the Steelers get embarrassed in the first round. And the Bengals still finish 4th in the AFC North. And while I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, we're last in our division, you know what that does mean? That means next year when we have a potentially healthy Joe Burrow, we get a last place schedule. We get to play against all the teams that were crap this year in the divisions we're going up against. So that's something to think about. That's definitely something to think about because, I mean, a lot of people talk about draft positioning and this, that, and the other. I don't care about that. But, like, having that last place schedule next year might be useful. At least as far as, like, having a great regular season and maybe even potentially, like, fighting for a number 1 seed next year when Joe Burrow's back and healthy, you know? So, I mean, I'd rather just see the Steelers miss the playoffs, both the Steelers and Chiefs. We don't need them in the playoffs, But at the same time, if the Steelers make it and the Bengals make it, then the Bengals still, there's a really good chance that the Bengals end up with a 4th place schedule next year, which would be pretty nice. So, let's think about that. Let's definitely think about that. I just woke up and saw it. Yep. I'm glad you saw it because I didn't notice. I literally went through all of these scenarios much quicker, by the way. How long have we even been live, by the way? We've been live for over an hour now. I got through all of these scenarios in like 15 minutes when I was just talking about them on my own and not responding to the comments and stuff. So yeah, like, I mean, had you not shown up, I would have, I was signing off. I was in the process of signing off when I saw your comment. And you're like, Kyle, don't forget to go live. And I'm like, all right, and that's it for me, guys. Well, you can catch me at Kyle Phelps. What do you mean? What do you mean don't forget to click? Have I? Oh, no. Oh, no. That was what happened. And then obviously I came on. Y'all got that little 3-minute blooper reel from me. Or 2-minute or whatever. I think I also forgot to hit end stream, so it kept streaming even though the stream wasn't connected to OBS. So you didn't actually get any content, but but YouTube thought it was streaming for another minute. It was weird. But yeah, that was kind of a problem this morning. But again, we wouldn't be here tonight if it wasn't for that. Hopefully the Battle of Ohio podcast is coming back next week. Had a lot of trouble syncing up with Thomas lately, but I think he called me today and said he's ready to come back next week. So hopefully we get the Battle of Ohio podcast going again next week. We need a Panthers Week 18 win over the Buccaneers, plus 2 wins from us, then we're in. Well, frankly, Mikey, I don't know if you're going to get a Panthers win over the Buccaneers. If that's what you need, then that's unfortunate. Why a Panthers win over the Buccaneers? Do the Buccaneers need to lose out? Because, the Buccaneers could lose to the... Oh, I see. So you guys play the Saints, or you guys play the Buccaneers in Week 17, and then you would need them to lose one more game. Okay, all right. Well, don't think that's happening. I don't see the Panthers beating the Buccaneers. It's just very unlikely to me that Baker Mayfield has 2 bad games in a row the way he's been playing lately. But I don't know. I could be wrong. But anyway, I do think that's about it for me. I did not intend to go live for an entire hour because I do have to work tomorrow. And I only really wanted to put out a video. Like the video, this video, when it was just a regular video that I edit and put up, it was only supposed to be 10, 12 minutes or so, 8 to 12 minute video. So we've been going for an hour, and it's just because you guys are talking to me and I like responding to you guys. So, that's the content you get with Welcome to the Jungle. So let's get some more of it. Can't wait for the Saints to play the Bengals again. Well, don't know when that'll happen again. Because the Bengals and Saints are, I would say, unlikely to finish in the same position in their division for a while. Because the Bengals should be getting back to winning the AFC North here pretty soon once Joe Burrow comes back and is healthy. And then the Saints, I'm sorry, I don't see the Saints doing a whole lot of division winning anytime soon. So that's, that is what it is. But anyway, guys, I'm going to go ahead and hop on out of here. I would like to do something other than go straight to bed after this. I have to work in the morning, so that's the thing. But, that's pretty much it for me. So I'll leave y'all. At Kyle Phelps 92 on Twitter, Facebook.com/Phelps. At Kyle Phelps 92 on TikTok as well. The Battle of Ohio podcast, Butt Fumble Sports. And right here, if you subscribe, please subscribe, because we're only 29 subscribers away from hitting my end of season goal of 500. I got to get those public watch hours up too, but at the end of the day, all I can really ask you guys to do is subscribe. And if you like the content, hit the notification bell, and you'll see, when all of my content's released and all of my live streams go up, and you might even get some bloopers like you got this morning, But yeah, guys, I appreciate every single one of y'all watching. And what's this one? Browns are Super Bowl bound. I don't know about that. That's one of my most recent comments from my playoff video. Rita Lehman said, Browns are Super Bowl bound. Let's pump the brakes a little bit on that one, Rita Lehman. But, maybe. I don't know. Playoff Joe Flacco is a real thing. So, but anyway, that's it for me this week, y'all. So I'll leave y'all, as always, with a hooday!